whatever they call, like there's so many different like names that's been called, and there's been like so many attacks on Asian Americans and like
Yeah.
that aren't even Chinese, but like you said, like are being blamed for stuff that had nothing to do with them, and like it's just like
That's
pure
that's
racism
that,
coming
Mm.
out.
that's that old racism though. That's that old fucking dog whistle type racism where you're just like, I don't know. It's very Trumpian, but it's also just like plenty of other old white Congress people do that shit too. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that was just, like a lot of people trying to put the blame on somebody because we had no answers at the time. And
Yeah.
like if you were to look at the term China virus, it alone in itself, to me, I don't think it's that racist, but who was saying it and where it was coming from and what the subtext were for that word or for that phrase is racist. And
The context is racist.
yeah, okay, it's like if I were to talk about the color Negro, it's a color used in the Spanish language. I could be wrong. I only know the bad words in Spanish. But then
Brazilian Portuguese, it's like that. That just it depends on the
or
language,
like, but or is it pronounced like negro or something?
It's pronounced different, but but okay,
like
but
Modella,
also,
Modella Negro, because
but
but then like if I were to go around and like if I see Lance in the middle of the street, I'm like, look at that Negro, you know what I mean? That in turn of itself is racist.
Yeah, but it's also like there's like a there's like a nuance and a finesse to language. I feel that like a lot of times, especially nowadays, goes it just gets forgotten. You know, like I think there is a time and a place where certain words are acceptable and unacceptable. You know, it really depends on who you're around, and like I would say, obviously, there's some things that should never be said, but they are said. You know, so, and that's because we're humans, and I feel like we're gonna always, it's like the Adam and Eve. It's like you want the forbidden fruit. You want to say the thing or tell the thing that you shouldn't want to tell. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, well, I mean, maybe the fact that we could distinguish between like who's doing it between the people who look like those people who are doing it is because we're. I don't know. Like I say, like I think it's just because we were educated. You know, we went through it. We delve into what is going on, try to understand the problem before we try to explain it. And it just sucks that some people don't see it that way and just start firing off words.
But there's like people who take it back, and there's people who like use it as a weapon. You know what I mean? Like there's a variety there, and I feel like intent isn't always like enough, but at the same time, it's one of those things that you can pick up often, like who's using it as like something where it's like, but it is amazing people who have that privilege that they're used to being able to say whatever they want, that are like so upset by not being allowed to say a word that other people can say, and it's like, why does it matter? Like,
I think it's a privilege thing. You know, I talk about this in corporate America a lot. It's like as a Black person in corporate America, I feel like I constantly think before I speak, think before I type. I reread whatever blast. I write a lot of blast emails going out to like 700 plus people, and like I have to make sure. And it's like all about like COVID and vaccines and like very like politically triggering, you know, things, like topics of conversation. So I have to be very like straightforward about a lot of it and just be very like on the nose about it. But like there is a I don't know. It's very hard. It's you know, because I feel like I'm constantly having to like not walk on eggshells, but like just be strategic about how I communicate and how I'm read. I don't want to come off as aggressive or loud or mean or whatever other adjective is usually connected to like Black employees, you know. But at the same time, you know, I have to be direct and assertive and like empathetic and all these other things, which are just the same thing, just with this facade of, you know, niceness on it to an extent, you know.
Totally. Like how women say sorry too often, or like, you know, get way more apologetic. Yeah, there's certain groups that just come across as more aggressive, whether or not they're actually like where they should be like seen as assertive or like leadership material, but because like their groups have been judged more, it's like, yeah, I don't know. But I also think that comes to play in like the hobby thing that we were talking about, like originally, like I feel like depending on your personality, like some things like Eric was saying, like in, you know, his high school days of like, because of his culture, then it became like, even though that's not actually his culture, but because it was like seen enough as his culture, that it became like acceptable. I think it's like there's like a lot of pretty privilege and there's a lot of like I don't know if there's the term, but I would say cool privilege of people who are just like seen as like cooler, that can pull off being super nerdy, and it's not nerdy like whatever. And not all like hobbies are nerdy. Like there are some hobbies that are like cool, but like
But
I can't
nerdy
name
is
some.
cool now, I think that's the difference, you know, like nerdy stuff is in.
Yeah,
I feel like I see little like backpacks and weird shit all the time that like I'd only find at like a Hot Topic or like fucking
totally.
news or whatever that store was, and I'm like, yo, like I like we used to rock some of this shit, but like only in certain environments, and now I just see people strolling down the street, not giving a fuck, like Crocs, you know,
Right.
like I feel like Crocs were not like I thought they weren't a thing, and then I am like, wow, okay, I missed them, I missed the train. This is like, you know, they're like Uggs now, you know.
Mhm.
Right. Dude, Disney too. Like Disney used to be like for the kids at some point, and like, you know, it was always kind of like acceptable for the adults, but it wasn't like the adults thing. By the
Super.
time our generation came around, like, man, like some of these like people our age that we went to school with, I feel like they're like practically leaving their kids at home and going to
Yeah.
Disneyland.
Yeah, dude, fuck them kids, dude. Yeah, I can get my way my Mickey experience.
Oh my god. No, you're completely right. We just went to Disney World like 2 weeks ago. It was 2 weeks ago for Thanksgiving.
How
Um,
was that?
it was great. We went to Epcot and Animal Kingdom. So it was super fun, but it was just like Epcot was definitely for the adults. Like you're going to different countries, you're drinking in each country, eating in each country. Like I was like, this is fucking amazing. You
Mhm.
know, like Norway to Mexico to, but then it's like kind of that old school American racism where it's like, oh,
Mhm.
here's China, which is also Japan, and
What?
because it's like Epcot has like different country like
Mhm.
areas.
Yeah.
So it's like China, but then it's like Japan. It's like there's a Japan section there. You know, it's like it's trying to fit all the Asian countries into like one
The
area.
irony of this
Yeah.
conversation and that being a real thing.
Dude, 100%. You know, and then you go to America and it's all like red, white, and blue. Looks like the fucking 1890s.
What do we have there? Hot dogs? Like what? What?
It's like so fucking dumb. It's all about like the post office and like it's like it's. I was like,
It's about the post office.
I was like, are you fucking serious? The post office and there's a cigar shop and like Southern barbecue. You
Is
know,
this cigars more of a Cuban thing?
I
Right?
guess
Didn't we steal that?
Yeah, right?
I was just like, this is so fucking. This is dumb. Mexico is dope. We got margaritas, and then you go to Norway and that's where like the Frozen ride is and like all that. It's like fun.
Where did
But
tobacco originate from?
I mean, the natives used it. Like,
Yeah, but tobacco was used in England too, right?
I think so.
I think so. I feel like
Before
it was all
America.
over.
Because I
Yeah.
know the Chinese also use a lot of
I can't
tobacco.
remember if
They were
like,
they were putting it on ships back to England from America.
yeah, that's what I couldn't remember which direction it came, because I felt like the natives were already using it and then we just took it and used it differently.
No, I think I could be wrong. I have to look this up, but I think tobacco was a Middle Eastern thing.
Because I feel like it also could have been like, I would believe that too, but like, because who wasn't smoking back in the day, right? Wasn't it good for you and your baby at one point?
Right?
Uh,
But
Oh my
that's also an interesting topic. Like I know a lot of people from the Central Valley who are all like pro Disney, Disney princess. They go to Disneyland. But when you talk about like anime, like oh, anime isn't that like porn, or like no, for real. Like some people
there
like
is some sexism in anime sometimes, but I also feel like there's some really cool
well,
anime.
it's just not just like it's just like people just have a different idea of what like they just it's just like they're all about one subculture and not about the other. Or like anime like that weird Japanese cartoons, but yet people are really into Disney.
Yeah, and then I know people that are into both. You know,
Yeah.
Hmm.
y'all, they just get the best of everything because there's a lot of crossover there now.
Well, there's a lot of variety in both too.
Yeah. Like you ain't no Disney princess, you on EBT, bitch.
Eric's coming for you.
But it's just like, yeah, I mean, even within like the rise of nerd culture, there's still different like animosity between each culture or gatekeeping. That's a really big thing with nerd culture. Even now, like there's not only is there gatekeeping within the community, but there's gatekeeping with other communities, you know, like, oh, you into this, then you can't be part of us, or just stuff like that. Like, why can't like two nerdy things be cool at the same time?
Yeah, why do they always have to compete?
Yeah.
And there
Not-
should be like everyone's got like so like we all have intersectional identities. We all have
Mhm.
intersectional like personality interests. Like there's like just because you like one thing doesn't mean you immediately like are excluded from another group, right? Like
I just think it's like a nerdy pissing contest. Like now that nerds have seen like the light of popularity, or and not, yeah, now that nerds have seen the light of popularity, now they want to be like, oh, my thing is cooler than your thing.
Yeah, I also think there's like I think there's a little bit more like economic business acumen to that. Like I think when we were younger, there was only a limited amount of content out there. So
Totally.
people kind of chose their camp, whether it's like a shonen camp, you know, where they just love shonens or whatever, or whether it's like more hardcore adult anime that's like super dark, and like you can like both, you know, like I love both. Like I love super dark stuff, I love the lighter fun stuff. Like German, I like a variety of different things, but I think we have so many options now to choose from that we can kind of feed into any, we can narrow into what our interests are,
Yeah.
and we have kind of, you know, a lot to pick from, versus back in the day it was like, oh, I guess I'll just rewatch this season of X show, like I don't know, Case Closed with Conan or something, you know,
Mm.
um, because this is clearly this is what I'm into, and I clearly like there's no other anime like this out there, you know.
I
You
really
know,
wasn't like exposed to anime until like right after high school, and I had this little emo boyfriend who was like obsessed and he had his own like DVD collection because that's the only way I saw it was like on DVDs, and we would like play different ones and watch like some all the way through, and then some was like, oh, we gotta wait till the new season comes out to buy the DVD because it wasn't like available everywhere. And other than like the mainstream ones we talked about a little bit that like, you know, I saw growing up, of course, but like, yeah, like actual like real anime like and that had the like subtitles and stuff like that was totally new to me until like yeah, but it was cool. Like I dug certain ones just like any genre. Like it's one of those like certain like it's hard for me to like totally exclude a genre because some people are like, oh, I like this, I don't like that. I'm like, how can you, and same with music, like how can you do that? Because like there's good ones, there's not good ones, and I can't even say they're bad because like someone else is gonna love that shit, like you
Totally.
know, but there's ones I'm more drawn to than others, and how can you totally like dismiss a group without like trying it? But now with streaming, like we have so many options, like of course people are getting more into shit, and I think that's cool, and seeing like different sides. Or isn't like Korean drama a big thing now too? Like all the different like shows that we're now getting to see that are like, I mean,
Yeah.
that's kind of fun.
yeah. Well, like, but you know, back in the day we had like BitTorrent, so that's how we got all the episodes.
Yeah.
And
I wasn't like techie. I didn't know about this stuff till later.
or like yeah, I remember being a kid, I was watching like Korean dramas too, like on streaming sites, or you would just look up a trailer on you like old school YouTube and try to find a torrent for it, and then that's how you watch um things that were hard to get a hold of in America.
I was not that smart either. I couldn't do all of them.
Yeah.
I could do LimeWire, and occasionally I get lucky and I'd find like a really good copy of something, you know.
And if you're
I like
unlucky, you get a
watched with
virus.
somebody who knew how to do that shit.
Yeah.
You're already probably gonna get a virus even if you get a full good download anyway.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, there's always the viruses. But I feel like there's like an episode of The Office about this where Jim and Pam don't know how to download anything, movies for free, and so they watch things on their break in increments with Andy. I feel like that was me back in the day. It was like, I don't know how to do this. I will watch with someone.